Thank you and good afternoon. This is Sam Vaughn for Sam's Sports Report. Today's date is Friday, December 15th, 2023. We're going to start with college basketball and then going on to the NFL. The Kansas Jayhawks travel to Indiana. They take on the Hoosiers. Center Hunter Dickerson, who averages 19 points a game, and Kaylee War, who averages 16 points a game for Indiana, are players to watch out for. The number 2 Jayhawks and Indiana Hoosiers. Tipped off is at 11:30 CBS. Top 25 matchup. There will be 2 games against 2 schools that are both in the top 25. It will be Arizona and Purdue. 8-0, 9-1. Caleb Love and Zach Edey are players to watch out for, both centers. It feels like Zach Edey is in his 10th year. He averages 25 points a game. Good for second in the NCAA. Tip is set for 3:30 on Peacock. I'm going to get that service soon because this is also going to be playing for football games. Kentucky number 14 will play number 9 North Carolina. Kentucky players to watch out for R.J. Davis and Antonio Reeves are players to watch out for. Game time from Atlanta, Georgia is set for 4:30 CBS. The Missouri Tigers will play the Seton Hall. Players to watch out for: Sean East, who looked up to the level of the Kansas Jayhawks in their last game. This game is on Sunday. He averages 17.2 points a game. And also watch out for Noah Carter. Player to watch out for Seton Hall, Cardia Richmond. Game time from the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City is at 4 o'clock. The Tigers are 6-7-3. The Seton Hall is 6-4. This game should be a good one. Missouri only averages a tenth of a point more than, or less than a tenth of a point more than Seton Hall. Now it's on to the NFL. The big news of the day is there's not much to go over in the Chargers-Raiders game as suggested, as Adrian Cornell has 3 touchdowns and Devontae Adams has 2. Not much stats. Devontae Adams 100 yards, but wouldn't make the reason why they've scored 63 points. But turning over the ball 5 times would make it. And as the big story of the day is ESPN has Brandon Staley out. He will be remembered as the coach that went for it on 4th down, whether analytics said it or not. Here's more from Rich Eisen. He says you can put this tombstone as far as being the guy who went for it on 4th down whenever and also failed at it a lot. And that's why he doesn't have a job anymore. Here's more on that.
I'll be straight up with you. I am shocked that the Chargers actually did this because this is a team that doesn't make moves like this, but they also don't usually lose games where they're down 42-0 against a team that was coming off a shutout, a division rival nonetheless. While the Chargers are imploding on the field, turning down tackles, getting blown out, you're seeing Mark Davis laugh it up with an absurd amount of water bottles in front of him, and you're hearing Antonio Pierce come out of the locker room second half and saying, we're not going to let up. We're not going to let off the gas pedal. And I think he was probably going for the 70 burger last night. He was ready to just keep hitting hit it again, sort of Hans Gruber style, just to make a point. Certainly to his own team, and certainly to his own situation where he's an interim head coach trying to make points with the boss and the fan base by saying, these guys are playing for me. Look how we're playing coming off of a 3-0 home loss. And look how that team is playing, the team that we're trying to beat every single year, the team that we beat on this field 2 years ago in the final game of a regular season, one of the many moments in Brandon Staley's career as the Charger head coach where Charger fans felt completely let down. And I think Antonio Pierce is making a point to his boss to say, look at what I'm doing. And then, again, I thought the Chargers were a team that would just let this thing play out. It's not as if any of the interim head coaches that they're putting out there have a shot at the job. They fired their general manager as well, which means they're clearing the deck, and I'll get to that in a second. But in terms of Brandon Staley and the fact that his last game had Easton Stick getting eviscerated by Max Crosby and that Raiders defense, and his defense that he stepped to the podium 2 weeks ago, and uncharacteristically, I think he was beginning to feel the heat with the media, saying to the members of the media, I'm the one calling the defense. You don't have to ask me these questions anymore if I'm giving up the play calling. And that team was turning down opportunities to tackle Brandon Bolden in front of a national television streaming audience. It didn't bode very well for him. And the Chargers made this move. And two things. One, I think the tombstone, if you will, on the Brandon Staley era of the Los Angeles Chargers is, here lies someone who couldn't get past a fourth down decision successfully. That's pretty verbose, but here the fourth downs were always cropping up for Brandon Staley. And as I said on Twitter and reiterated earlier this week, coming off of their loss to Denver last week, that I can't remember a team that has had more problems in terms of decision-making, execution, and play calling on fourth downs in my 20 years with NFL Network, quite like the Brandon Staley Chargers. The analytics would say, go for it. He would go for it, and then the execution was terrible, or the play calling was off. And the analytics said, don't go for it. He would go for it, and then something would backfire on him. And then those three moments that he'll be remembered for, two of them in Las Vegas, one of them in Jacksonville. Last night's game in Las Vegas being that 63-point destruction, 63-21 or whatever the heck the final score was.
Vikings Bengals. Bengals are both 7-6. Players to watch out for: Jake Browning and Joshua Dobbs, both backups at the beginning of the season. One played for the Cardinals to start the year and played a few games for the Cardinals and then got traded to the Vikings. The Brewing is off to a good start. Joshua Dobbs also is off to a good start, but the Vikings have faltered and are still 7-6. Jamar Chase is a player to watch out for. Daniel Hunter at the linebacker position, and Trey Hendricks for the Bengals, and Daniel Hunter for the Vikings. Kick is at 12. I'm going to take the Bengals 24-21. Colts and Steelers are 6. Colts are 7. Watch out for the quarterback, former Bear Mitchell Trubisky, who is now on the Steelers, and watch out for Colts Gardner Minshew. The Colts are the 6th seed and the Steelers are the 7th seed, but did lose to the dreadful Patriots, so the Chiefs play this week. Back to that game. Watch out for defensive player TJ Watt and DeForest Buckner, both ends. DeForest Buckner should start after did not practice this week, but his name is not on the injured designated. Linebacker Shaquille Leonard is also a player to watch out for. Kick is at 3:30. I'm going to take the Colts 23-20. Denver Lions 7-6. The Broncos are 1-6 out of the last 7. Meanwhile, they play the Lions, who have struggled a little bit, have lost 2 out of 3. The Lions will have quarterback Jared Goff and are on top of the NFC North despite losing to the Bears. Starting quarterback Russell Wilson, who might be returning to somewhat of the Russell Wilson of old, of what he can be. He's somewhat old, in my opinion. Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end for the Lions, will be a player to watch out for, and Patrick Surtain Jr., son of former Chief Patrick Surtain Sr., also cornerback, just like his dad. Game time is set for 7:15. All these games are on the NFL Network. This is Sam for Sam Sports Report.